It's a drug abused sometimes using balloons and whipped cream containers. But now some people say the gas is far easier to get, and one doctor believes that access could be causing a crisis.
As Rob Krieger reports, a local father says the gas put his daughter in the hospital, and he believes some companies could be using loopholes while supplying a high.
Bright colors, bubbly logos, packing a punch.
It hits like crack cocaine hits.
Boasting video game designs with on-demand gratification.
It's instant, it's right there, and then it's gone.
With candy-like flavors.
You continuously want that high.
Blueberry mango.
You snap back really, really quick.
Vanilla cupcake, watermelon lemonade.
You just want another one.
Within reach.
You can go get them right down the street.
On shelves at corner stores and smoke shops.
You're spending all your money.
Sometimes offered with a complimentary mouthpiece.
You don't even have to have cash. You can use a credit card.
Users say it brings up a brief but fleeting euphoria.
Just wasting it away, and it's just gone as fast as you can spend it.
In a breath, it's over.
Most people know it as laughing gas.
Chemically known as nitrous oxide, health educator Dr. Eric Griggs says medical professionals have used the gas safely in clinical settings for more than 250 years.
The unfortunate thing is, for the exact number of centuries that it's been used, it's also been abused.
Greg Comble sees that firsthand.
This stuff has taken over my daughter and everything that she ever knew.
He believes his daughter started abusing nitrous oxide when she was 18 years old.
She only did a little bit at a time, maybe parties and stuff like that, and it grew to be a very big problem, a genuine addiction.
It's because people get a euphoric high. That's why they do it. It may work on opiate receptors the way that ketamine does.
Dr. Amir Gharkhani, an associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Yale University, says frequent nitrous oxide users risk potentially fatal or life-altering consequences.
There have been many, many cases in emergency rooms and hospitals of people presenting with nerve damage, with blood diseases, with psychosis, mania, other psychiatric presentations.
Dr. Griggs says inhaling nitrous can deplete the body of B12.
There can be all kind of nervous damage, cerebral damage, cardiovascular implications, long-term implications.
People look like they've had spinal cord injuries. It can start as simple as something called neuropathy in their like tingling sensations in their extremities, their arms and legs, and to having problems with muscle pains and nerve pains in their legs, and difficulty walking, to the point where people sometimes become bedbound.
Symptoms Comble says he's seen right in his front yard when a friend of his daughter's hopped out of his truck with a nitrous tank in hand and crashed headfirst into his family's mailbox. A nightmare he's watching his daughter live through right now.
She is so addicted to this stuff that she just totally avoids her family and all of her friends now. It's ridiculous. When we do see her, she's shaking. She can't even eat a piece of pizza without it almost falling out of her mouth. She's doing really bad. She's been in rehab 3 times.
In just 3 weeks after his daughter moved out, Comble says he removed a horde of empty tanks from her new apartment, each one a tally of the toll on his daughter's life.
We calculated, this is $1,800 worth of product right here in a 3-week time that she's moved out and been living in an apartment with a roommate.
You could easily spend, a couple $1,000. Yeah, a month. Yeah, easily.
This man, who's currently battling an addiction to nitrous, agreed to speak candidly with us about the gas anonymously.
Some days I can spend $300 on it. I know users that'll spend $1,000 a day.
He says he's used nitrous oxide recreationally for more than a decade, but he says it's only recently that his abuse of the gas became a problem when nitrous tanks like these showed up in New Orleans neighborhood shops.
So found out about these, it was kind of easy access, grab a couple of them, and then it just became more of a thing and a pretty constant thing.
Dr. Gharkhani believes increased access to nitrous oxide, like these larger format cylinders, could contribute to more frequent use.
The biggest impediment to people using in the old days was the access to cartridges and how expensive it was. But if people have access to tanks now,
you don't feel like you're doing something wrong You know, you're buying it at the store, you know, so you don't have that kind of shame if you're buying other drugs.
Once addicted to crack cocaine, he says because you can buy this vice over the counter, his addiction to nitrous is far worse.
Because not anyone can just walk into a crack house at any time. It's rough. It's a hard drug, even though it's not supposed to be.
However, nitrous oxide is considered harmful enough that in clinical settings, the regulations to administer it start long before the mask goes on.
14 hours of didactic or academic learning plus 6 hours of actual doing cases to get yourself a personal nitrous permit.
Dr. Greg Phillips has practiced dentistry in Lutcher for 43 years.
I would say 20 to 30% of my patients require nitrous or would like to have nitrous for their dental work. Sometimes even for their cleanings. It kind of takes the edge off and makes you a little bit calmer in the dental chair. You know, dental anxiety unfortunately runs rampant.
He says dental offices can't use nitrous oxide or dispense it in any way without having a personal permit issued by the Louisiana State Board of Dentistry.
We have to document who uses and how long. Okay, so it is very highly regulated for us.
But when it comes to buying it for a different use, there's no permit. In fact, while Louisiana law spells out it's illegal to inhale, ingest, or possess nitrous oxide, it provides 3 exceptions: when used by a licensed medical or dental practitioner, as part of a manufacturing process or industrial operation, and if the nitrous oxide is intended to be used as a propellant in food preparation, like when making whipped cream.
I mean, that's just it's a way to bypass the law.
This stuff is all made for kids to inhale.
Experts fear that puts a new generation on a potentially deadly path.
Even if infrequent use occurs, the risks associated with that infrequent use because of the sheer amount that people are using.
In 2016, Dr. Garicani co-authored a review in the American Journal on Addictions, finding only about 100 case reports on deaths linked to nitrous oxide.
Since then, there have been hundreds of other cases added to the literature. This is like booming. The level of awareness about this has gone up, but so has the frequency of use, I imagine. So I think this is approaching a crisis at this juncture, and I think there has to be measures taken to regulate the access to the gas.
While nearly every tank we saw has a warning against inhaling the gas somewhere on the tank, addicts say that's just a thread through a loophole in the law.
I don't really know what you could even do with these other than suck them down.
It's incredibly dangerous, and yes, they should regulate it, and I think it should be done on a federal level.
Campbell is committed to encouraging lawmakers to do just that. First, by highlighting his family's struggles.
I don't know what I'm going to do. That's why I'm relying on the news, and I'm relying on the state or Jefferson Parish or anybody to take this junk off the street.
Campbell feels once people understand the real threat of nitrous, regulations may help save someone else's daughter in the future. But without any promise for a change in law, he feels it allows businesses to keep supplying a high.
I worry about her, you know, every minute of the day. I feel like I'm going to lose her every day. I want my daughter to grow up and live a good life and have a family, but she's running herself in the ground. And there's nothing I can do about it.
That was Rob Krieger reporting. Campbell says since our interview, his daughter was hospitalized because of her nitrous oxide abuse. He says she's currently paralyzed from the waist down, but says she's eager to begin rehab. Nitrous oxide abuse is becoming more recognized in medical communities as the availability of the dangerous product, sometimes used to make whipped cream, has exploded.
And one local woman says that the easy access created an addiction and landed her in the hospital. As Rob Krieger reports, she says companies manufacturing nitrous oxide are supplying a high.
We found her in her apartment, not having any feeling from her waist down.
She couldn't lift her legs off the bed.
She couldn't walk.
If you move her foot up and down, she couldn't tell which direction you were moving it.
Seeing her carted off in an ambulance was a father's worst nightmare.
Not everyone sees total resolution of symptoms.
We didn't even know if she was ever going to walk again.
I'm here in the hospital because I am paralyzed.
Jenna Campbell is 24 years old.
I can't walk because I was doing whippets, which is nitrous oxide.
She says her abuse of nitrous started about 5 years ago.
I really liked it from the first one.
At 19, Campbell says her use was infrequent, and the gas came from cartridges like these.
I had no clue how unsafe it was.
But she claims she never really felt side effects until large tanks of nitrous oxide appeared at gas stations and smoke shops in Jefferson Parish about a year ago.
They started making the tanks, which is more intense, so it's more direct, and you get more nitrous. So I think that's whenever things changed. It progressively got worse for me.
The beginning of October, she started using it daily.
Dr. Archie Melcher is a general neurologist at East Jefferson General Hospital, part of a team of medical providers treating Campbell after she was hospitalized because of her nitrous oxide abuse.
The effects of nitrous oxide they're rapid in onset. You feel this euphoria. It doesn't last long, so they seek out another episode of euphoria.
Melcher calls incessant use like Campbell's an addiction.
It's heavily addictive. I mean, I was addicted to it. I couldn't stop doing it.
Campbell says her heavy use came at a heavy cost each time she walked into a shop to buy nitrous.
I spent so much money. Each canister was about $50, and I was doing like 6 to 16 a day.
Hundreds of dollars daily, fueling a habit that quickly robbed her of nearly every minute.
I was just doing it back to back, every 30 seconds or so, the entire day. I wouldn't even get up out of the bed.
Melcher says the addiction rapidly attacked her nervous system, inactivating an essential vitamin, B12.
Your body does not produce vitamin B12. You have to obtain it from your diet, meat, fish, dairy, and eggs.
Dr. Melcher says a young, healthy person with a diet rich in B12 keeps the vitamin stored in their liver.
In amounts that will last on the order of years. So even if you would stop taking in vitamin B12, it would take years to deplete the vitamin B12 supply.
He says that all changes with frequent nitrous oxide use, as the gas inactivates the essential nutrient, depleting a supply that could last for years in just a fraction of the time.
That can happen over hours or just a couple days, especially if you're abusing nitrous oxide.
The body needs B12 to nourish the nervous system, Melcher says, nutrients for the brain, peripheral nerves, and the spinal cord. A deficiency can create permanent damage.
You can develop a dementia, memory disorder. It can cause behavioral changes. In the spinal cord, you can see weakness and also imbalance because the brain doesn't know where the legs are in space because of this injury.
I would be like running into walls and stuff. I couldn't walk. I had pins and needles in my legs. It got really scary.
Until November 6th, when her father, Greg Campbell, found her in her apartment, bedbound, facing the devastating consequences of nitrous abuse.
We rescued her out of there finally, and she came here to East Jefferson Hospital where she's getting the best care possible.
For nearly 8 days, Campbell was in the hospital, unable to move her legs with blisters on her tongue after constantly inhaling the pressurized gas from tanks just like these.
I had frostbited my mouth before. It hurts to eat. It stays on your mouth for like a couple weeks, and it scabs over.
Since November 13th, she's been in rehab at the hospital, recovering from the acute injuries like the blisters, but still more than 2 weeks since the last time she used nitrous, she's unable to walk.
We're seeing some improvement. Hopefully that'll continue, and hopefully the symptoms and signs will resolve. But it can take a year or two for that to occur.
For now, she's rehabilitating at East Jefferson's Independence Lane, a full-fledged recovery facility on the 8th floor of the hospital, offering real-life recovery scenarios to patients just like Jenna.
They had me in the parallel bars, standing up and taking some steps. They've been working me hard, but I'm excited because I want to walk again. It feels really heavy, yeah.
Patients are trained in activities of daily living, such as dressing, bathing, transferring in and out of a bed before they go home to live, hopefully independently.
Still, seeing his daughter in a wheelchair is a painful reminder for Greg Campbell of the toll nitrous oxide has played on his family's lives.
My daughter can't walk. It's about a life and death situation.
He says his daughter is finally fighting back against her nitrous dependency, finding purpose and recovery and courage through speaking about the addiction.
We're coming forward to help anybody else that might have a daughter struggling or a son struggling with addiction and gets a hold of one of these things.
Talk to your kids, talk to your family, explain what it is to them and the risks.
Risks she feels every day now, practicing movement without falling or a few assisted steps. Still with little feeling in her legs, all because of an addiction she says was aided by easy access.
It's made to abuse. It's crazy that you can go to a gas station and buy this stuff, especially because it did so much damage to my body.
She thinks the companies that are manufacturing these things know how much damage they can cause, and while there are warning labels on the tanks, she claims those companies are disingenuous when it comes to the risks or the intention to use this for whipped cream, arguing the marketing of the products makes it clear they intend to supply a high.
I think they know that people are abusing them and they are making a lot of money off of it.
A fortune, Greg Campbell says, nearly killed his little girl.
They're definitely selling it for people to inhale. This has got nothing to do with food making. They're making millions of dollars on ruining everybody's lives.
And that was Rob Krieger reporting. Campbell says local lawmakers are already beginning the process to change laws statewide next legislative session. She says she doesn't think there should be any exceptions. And once the gas off shelves in Louisiana, and as far as her recovery goes, she could be released from the hospital before Christmas. And she says she's hopeful she'll stay away from nitrous as she learns to walk again. Nitrous oxide addiction is more prevalent than you may think. One former addict says the number of people hooked is growing simply because manufacturers are becoming more bold, selling larger formats of the gas and stocking it in stores across our communities.
As Rob Krieger reports, she fears the ease of access will snare even more people in the potentially deadly trap that she just barely escaped.
I thought that it made me better in some ways. As it was destroying me, it completely dissociates you. Like, you feel like you're floating, you feel so euphoric from it. And one's never enough, ever. It's hippie crack for a reason. It's crack. You hit it, you gotta hit another one. And it doesn't stop.
Nitrous oxide had this Gulf Coast resident in its grips for nearly half her life.
I started when I was 18, but it didn't start getting so bad with my addiction with it till it became so readily available, and these people that are distributing it know they're getting high with it.
We're disguising her identity for her safety. She fears retribution from some of the people she says sell this stuff on the Gulf Coast.
I was involved with distributing it and to make a delivery. I mean, and I feel terrible about that. But not anymore. I'll never do that again.
In January of this year, she left nitrous behind and since has urged others to drop the drug, but she says the availability and the large tanks of gas have made escaping nitrous for some a losing battle.
The big tanks have been the game changer and how readily, since 2019 on the coast, that's when it started getting really bad because they're available everywhere.
Those tanks, often smattered with colorful imagery enticing potential addicts, are sold legally as chargers for whipped cream in vape shops, convenience stores, and gas stations in Louisiana and Mississippi.
That's disgusting because that is certainly marketed toward a minor or a younger resident.
Senator Joe Addabbo, a lawmaker in the New York State Senate, recently penned a law making it harder for kids to get their hands on this stuff. He says it's clear the companies that make these nitrous oxide tanks are taking advantage of addicts and never intend to sell the stuff for whipped cream.
They know exactly what they're doing. And they're not marketing toward, 16-year-old bakers. No, because they're using it for the other use for the nitrous oxide, the illegal use. And that's why they're neon colors and their fancy lettering and the images. They know exactly what they're doing.
Across the country, laws governing nitrous sales are fairly similar to those here in Louisiana. But 2 years ago, New York passed a law banning anyone under 21 from buying nitrous oxide.
This was so prevalent in our communities. They were found on street corners and dark alleys, and you'd find 50 of these canisters just sitting there. That was problematic and troublesome.
I used to be one of those people. I really hate it because people just want to suck, and you want to suck your life away for what?
She says people using nitrous get trapped, not just by the drug, but by the ease of access to the gas.
It's the bake shops and the convenience stores, the places that are making it so readily available, especially in the big tanks, because that was like, I mean, that's new. Now it's everywhere, every vape shop, you notice they're around every corner.
They let you buy as many as you want.
Jenna Campbell can't walk after her constant use of nitrous oxide landed her in the hospital, unable to feel her legs.
I would do a tank and I would go back to the place and buy another one, and then I would do it and I would go back over and over all day.
Dr. Archie Melcher, a neurologist who treated Campbell at East Jefferson General Hospital, explains constant use of nitrous oxide depletes the body of B12, a vital nutrient for the nervous system.
The brain, spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves in your arms and legs. Without vitamin B12, these cells suffer injury, and it may be irreversible.
The neuropathy, the myelopathy, the spinal cord degeneration, even if people use it frequently, they can still have those side effects.
Dr. Amir Gharkhani, an associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Yale University, who co-authored a review in the American Journal on Addiction surrounding nitrous abuse, says there's evidence the gas creates dependency.
It's the repeated use causes a euphoric high, and it might be due to the fact that it works on opiate receptors mildly, that has some addiction potential.
He worries recently that addiction potential has increased because of the abundant supply of large nitrous tanks.
I think that the boom in frequency has to be connected with the increased access to the gas.
I think they know that people are abusing them. They don't care. They just want to make money.
I bought out a vape store out of them and spent $1,300. That took the whole store out. I'm talking like every day.
She estimates in her 15 years using nitrous, she easily spent at least $150,000 on it alone. And at one point, even tried to sell it.
I was involved in a delivery system with the LLC, distributing and delivering it. But it didn't work out so well because I was too busy and others just sucking the supply.
She says because of weak regulations surrounding nitrous, dealers can sell and even deliver the gas as long as it's used for culinary purposes, like making whipped cream.
There's no way you can even distribute whipped cream out of it. Come on now, this is a big joke. Everybody knows what's up. I'm calling it out because, like I said, it's just out of hand.
Come on, man. There's not a chef worth their salt that is going to tell you to use an artificially flavored gas to get a flavor in your food.
Ray Trosclair has been working in restaurants for more than 3 decades. He knows his way around a dessert and says even if he wanted to use nitrous oxide to make whipped cream, tanks this size are excessive.
Who would need this ever? And I'm going to tell you, from a chef's point of view, honestly, there is no way I would use a flavored gas ever. If there's going to be a flavor in it, it's going to be real. Like if we make whipped cream with strawberries, we're going to have strawberries in the whipped cream. We're not going to use a flavored gas. I've never met any chef that would use that.
A quick comparison to a can of whipped cream you might have in your fridge shows a 13-ounce bottle has about 74 servings of whipped cream per container. Now, a can like this typically takes about 6.5 grams of nitrous oxide to make. Compare that to this tank with 2,000 grams of nitrous oxide. If you portion things out similarly, you can make approximately 22,792 servings of whipped cream with that strawberry watermelon nitrous alone.
I can't see how you would ever need that at a corner store or at a gas station or even at a store that anybody could put their hands on easily.
Those tanks have no place being sold, to the general public. They belong in dentists' offices and doctors' offices and hospitals. There should be regulation done on a state level, federal level.
This former addict agrees.
You're talking to someone who's had a 15-year addiction. It's very obvious what's going on here. Let's not downplay it. It is what it is, and it is a problem.
We have an issue nationally. Nitrous oxide, again, accessible, cheap, it's available, it's easy to use, and I think it should have national attention.
Still, she fears until that happens, more people will fall victim to nitrous addiction. And she says manufacturers and retailers profit from easy access.
It's a serious problem. It's going to continue to be a serious problem if somebody doesn't put their foot down and do something about it.
That was Rob Krieger reporting. Jenna Comble's family tells us last week she was allowed to go home. However, she's still working to regain feeling in her feet, and more than a month after she was admitted to the hospital, she still cannot walk because of her nitrous abuse.